In this video, I'm going to do an in-depth review of the datasheet for a linear voltage regulator, and specifically we're going to be looking at a high-performance low dropout linear regulator from Texas Instruments. In theory, a linear regulator should be a simple component to understand and specify. I mean, in principle, it just takes an input voltage and steps it down to a lower voltage. But as you're going to discover in this video, there are a lot of critical criteria that you really need to understand when choosing a linear regulator for your project. Now, first, a full disclosure, the TPS 799 was actually one of my early chip designs when I was an engineer at TI, so I'm kind of biased toward it. Okay, let's get started. The headline alone can be a little bit intimidating if you really don't know a whole lot about linear regulators. Let's start by just breaking down the title of this part. It's the TPS 799. 200 milliamps. The 200 milliamps is how much load current it can handle. Then low quiescent current. You'll see this specified as quiescent current, ground current, or supply current. But it's basically the amount of current that the component itself will use in performing the intended function. This regulator, you can see, has a low IQ is what they're talking about here, which is the quiescent current of only 40 microamps. Obviously, that will vary over temperature and various other conditions, but approximately it's about 40 microamps, which is quite low for linear regulator. There are linear regulators that use much lower current, even less than a microamp of quiescent current, but they're not going to have near the performance that 799 has. Next in the headline is ultra low noise, which is important for sensitive analog applications like audio and RF. So some of the components inside a regulator generate fundamental noise. For example, a simple resistor generates what is called thermal noise, which is noise that increases with temperature. And a low noise regulator like this is designed to minimize these noise sources at the output. High PSRR. PSRR stands for power supply rejection ratio. It simply means that the regulator has a high rejection of any ripple on the input. Let's say you wiggle the input and you have a 5-volt input, but then you wiggle it with, I don't know, like a 10 kilohertz sine wave that is on top of the 5 volts. That's an AC signal that you're applying to the input. Well, high PSRR means that the regulator is really good at rejecting that ripple and not passing it through to the output. Next is low dropout. Dropout for a regulator is how close the input and the output can be together and the products and the parts still regulate the voltage. Let's say if you have a 5-volt input and a 3.3 volt output, then you have a voltage drop across the regulator of 1.7 volts. You know, that's pretty good room. That's plenty of voltage for most regulators to work. But let's say all of a sudden you have a 3.7 volt input from like a lithium ion battery and you want to output a regulated 3.3. You got 3.7 on the input, 3.3 on the output. That's only a difference of 400 millivolts between the input and the output. If that difference is below the dropout, the specified dropout voltage for the regulator, then what happens is the regulator no longer acts like a regulator. It essentially becomes a resistor, a small resistor between the input and the output. A low dropout regulator basically allows you to use the regulator in applications where the input and the output are really close together, which is in most cases the best case scenario for using a linear regulator, which I'll discuss in more details in a little bit on when you want to use a linear regulator versus the other type is called a switching regulator, which switching regulators are much more complex. Just to run through the various list of features here: 200 milliamp low dropout regulator, which we've already discuss what that means. With EN, that just means it has an enable pin. You can turn the part on and off, essentially. It has multiple output voltage versions available. So most regulators will tend to come in two options. They have fixed voltage options. You buy one and it only outputs 3.3 volts. Then there's then they typically will also have a version that's an adjustable version. By using two external resistors, you can set up a resistor divider and you can program the regulator to output any voltage within its specified range. For this product, it can go as low as 1.2 volts to as high as 6.5 volts. The inrush says inrush current protection with enable toggle. Inrush current is basically when you first power up a regulator, there can be a huge amount of current that rushes into the part to charge the output capacitor. What this is saying that as long as you use the enable toggle, it will have the inrush current protection if you power the device up and have it disabled. Then as soon as you enable it, it will slowly charge up the output instead of maybe over a millisecond or two. Low IQ, 40 microamps, we already talked about that. High PSRR, which is the high power supply rejection ratio, and it's showing 66 dB, which is 66 decibels at 1 kilohertz. So power supply rejection varies over frequency. Most regulators are going to be much better, or in fact, all of them will be much better at rejecting ripple at lower frequencies than higher frequencies. And later on in the data sheet, we'll see that it's got graphs showing the power supply rejection ratio and how it varies over frequency. So basically 66 dB is roughly an attenuation of a little over 1,000. Basically, if you have a 1 volt sine wave that you put on the input voltage, then on the output, it's going to be 1,000 times smaller. The next is it says it's stable with a low ESR 2 microfarad typical output capacitance. Okay, so there's a simple statement. There's a decent amount of information that we could talk about. Stable. Let's start with that. A linear regulator, or any regulator, has a feedback loop. And basically, feedback is what allows linear regulator have an accurate output. What it does is the device is constantly measuring the output and then feeding that signal back into the control circuit. The control circuit can make the necessary adjustment so as to maintain the desired output voltage. You have to be very careful that you follow the manufacturer's recommendations on the capacitor that you want to use. It has excellent load and line transient responses. The next feature it lists here. Line transient, that's if you quickly change the input voltage, does any of that affect the output voltage? If I quickly go from 4 volts to 5 volts on the input, does the output say right at 3.3? For the most part, it will, but there will always be a tiny little spike you'll see on the output as the feedback loop has to adjust for the higher input voltage. If it has a excellent line transient response, means you do the step on the input and it should have very little effect on the output. Load transient response is whenever you do a step on the load. Let's say the regulator is sitting there, putting out 1 milliamp of current, but all of a sudden, like really quick, you need 200 milliamps of current. That's a load transient. You transitioned the current from a low to a high and then potentially back to a low at some point. How the output responds to this is the load transient response of the product. Next is 2% overall accuracy, load line, and temperature. Basically, this says as long as the input voltage is between 2.7 and 5.5, as long as the load is between 0 and 200 milliamps, and over the temperature range, which is minus 40 degrees Celsius up to 125 degrees. So over those conditions, the output will always be within 2% of the target voltage, which I'm using 3.3 as an example. Next, it says a very low dropout. This has a dropout of 100 millivolts. So as long as the input is at least 100 millivolts higher than the output voltage, then the regulator will not be in dropout mode. Here at the bottom, they are showing you just the typical application circuit. There's 2 versions. Let's start with the fixed version. It's the simplest. Input is where the input supply goes. You'll want a capacitor on the input as well. Then on the output, then you have the 2.2 microfarad ceramic for stability. Then you have the enable pin, which in this case, it's active high. So that means if the enable pin is high, the part's on. If it's low, the part's off. And then NR stands for noise reduction. And this is an optional capacitor that you can add. It's just an RC filter that cleans up the reference voltage before it goes to the control loop. That drastically reduces noise. This is also the capacitor that ends up eliminating inrush current and allowing the output to come up more smoothly. On the adjustable, pretty much have the same thing, except now the NR pin is gone, and that pin is now instead connected as a feedback pin that allows you to set up a resistor divider in the feedback that allows you to set the output voltage. You adjust R1 and R2. Here they give you the equation equation, R1 plus R2 divided by R2 times the 1.193, that's the bandgap voltage. The C feedback that you see here makes the part a little more stable. The downside with the adjustable version on this part, as you can see, now you've lost the NR pin on the adjustable. The adjustable is going to end up having much worse power supply rejection and noise than the fixed version. Here it gives you each pin. Here's the 3 different packages. So what pin on each of the 3 packages, what's their function, absolute maximum ratings. There's some other information. This is really important here. This is called R theta JA. And this allows you to calculate how hot the part will get based on the power that you're requiring it to dissipate. You have to be careful with a regulator, especially if you're operating it with the input voltage is much higher than the output voltage. For instance, if you had a 12-volt input and then you were outputting 3.3, that's a big drop across the regulator. And if you have a lot of current, high load current, then you're going to heat up that regulator is dissipating tons of heat, and it's getting to get so hot that it can actually exceed the specification, the 125 degrees C. If it gets hot enough, usually around 150 degrees C, there's a thermal shutdown circuit inside the chip that will turn it off if it gets too hot. You definitely have to make sure that when you're designing that first of all, you can see this one package, the SON, has a much lower theta JA rating, which is degrees C per watt. This basically says if the part is dissipating 1 watt of power, it's going to heat up 74.2 degrees. If it's dissipated for this package, the SON. For the SOT, if it was dissipating 1 watt of power, then it's going to heat up 225 degrees C. These are all the electrical specifications. There's a lot here, too much to go over in one video. And now it begins a lot of the plots. This shows you like how the change in output varies as the input voltage changes for various temperatures. This shows you how the output changes as the load current changes. And here's the power supply rejection ratio. You can see they specified on the main page, they said 66 dB at 1 kilohertz. That's at 1 kilohertz. Here I go up, and sure enough, all the lines cross around 66 dB. You can see they give different curves for different load currents because that changes the power supply rejection. And here's some various line transients. You do a step voltage on the input. Here's what happens on the output. It wiggles for a little bit and then settles down. Wiggles again when you do the next transition and settles down. The bigger the cap, usually the better the transient response. It holds the output more stable. And then here's a low transient. They're going from 1 milliamp quickly up to 150 milliamps and then back down to 1 milliamp. And then this is how the output voltage with 2 caps responds. Here's the layout example. The rest of this data sheet is all just the various part numbers. If you found this video helpful, then I highly recommend that you watch this video right here next, which is on how to design a switching regulator circuit.